Join me as I dive into the Bible to uncover Jeremiah's most hopeful promise ever and see if I can fully understand its message. The book of Jeremiah is an incredibly powerful and prophetic book in the Bible, set against the backdrop of a tumultuous time in Israel's history. As Jeremiah writes, the people of Israel are facing some of the darkest days they've ever known, with the threat of exile and destruction looming large. And yet, amidst all this uncertainty and despair, Jeremiah brings a message of hope, a beacon of light in the darkness. The people during Jeremiah's time were facing some incredibly tough circumstances. The Babylonians were at the gates, ready to take over the city and destroy the temple. The people were scared, they were confused, and they were desperate for a way out. They had abandoned God and were reaping the consequences of their actions. It's easy to see why they would feel hopeless, like there was no escape from the disasters that were unfolding around them. As the prophet, Jeremiah's job was to speak truth to the people, to tell them what God was saying. But he didn't just bring a message of judgment and punishment. He also brought a message of hope, of restoration, of redemption. He reminded the people that God was still with them, that he still cared for them, and that he still had a plan to prosper them, not to harm them. In those darkest of days, the people needed to hear a message of hope more than ever. They needed to know that there was still a future ahead of them, that God was still in control, and that he was still working everything out for their good. Throughout the book of Jeremiah, we see God making incredible promises to his people. In chapter 29, he says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." In chapter 31, he says, "I have loved you with an everlasting love, I have drawn you with unfailing kindness." These are promises that speak directly to the hearts of the people, reminding them that they are loved, that they are valued, and that they are not forgotten. One of the most beautiful promises in all of Jeremiah is found in chapter 30, verse 11. It says, "For I am with you, declares the Lord, and I will rescue you and deliver you." This promise is especially striking because it's made in the midst of incredible turmoil and upheaval. The people are facing the very real threat of exile and destruction, and yet God is promising to rescue and deliver them. This promise is so hopeful because it reminds us that God is always with us, no matter what we're facing. He is always working to rescue and deliver us, even when we can't see a way out. He is always working for our good, even when things seem darkest. But what makes this promise even more remarkable is that it's not just limited to the people of Israel. This promise is for us today, too. We may not be facing the same exact circumstances as the Israelites, but we all face challenges and difficulties in our own lives. We all need to know that God is with us, that he cares for us, and that he is working everything out for our good. As we reflect on Jeremiah's most hopeful promise, I want to leave you with a question: what does this promise mean to you? How has God worked to rescue and deliver you in the past?